Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. The other week I posted a painting tutorial for the mummy from the old Games Workshop game Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. I subsequently posted a poll on my community page here on YouTube asking you which of the heroes I should paint first. And it was the Reverend Luther Kirkegard who won the poll, so in this video that's who I'm going to be painting. As you can see, the Good Reverend is a classic clergyman, vicar, priest type character, and while the artwork on his character card shows him in a white suit, as might be a wise choice for going out into the Egyptian desert to search for a mummy's tomb, we are going to paint our model in classic black attire. Because of that, I've started by spray undercoating with Chaos Black. I have then coated the model again with Abaddon Black. And the reason I've done that is because Abaddon Black has a different finish to Chaos Black, and as the clothes are going to be predominantly in black, it makes it easier for any touch-ups I might have to do. And of course, black can be quite tricky. I'm going to start by doing the trousers, and I'm going to use Incubi Darkness. I've thinned it down quite a lot, and I'm going to apply several coats to the most raised areas. We want to get a little bit of an off black sheen to these trousers. So anywhere where there is a crease or a raised area, we're just going to apply a small amount of this Incubi Darkness. And because it's so thinned out, it shouldn't show too much. I'm then going to add a little bit of Caliban Green to that Incubi Darkness, and we're going to put that on the top part of the clothing, really just to get a slightly different black hue to it. We don't want the same uniform black across all of the clothing. For the jacket, I'm doing away with Incubi Darkness, and we're going to use Abaddon Black with a very small amount of Temple Guard Blue mixed in. As with the other highlights, I've thinned this down a lot, and I'm going to apply several coats. Of course, I'm keeping to the raised areas of the jackets. There are some nice deep folds on this jacket which we want to keep as dark as possible. So I'm using a relatively fine brush here. I'm then going to add another drop of Temple Guard Blue, and I'm doing the same thing again but focusing on the more raised details. Standard highlighting stuff, really. I'm then switching to Eshin Grey, and this is going to be for the shoes. As with all the other paints, I'm thinning them slightly, but you can pretty much get away with one coat of Eshin Grey in this particular case, as long as you just have a good coating over the entire shoe. And then I'm getting some Nuln Oil, and I'm thinning this down quite a lot, and I'm going to put a coat of this over the whole model. And this is going to tie together those highlights a little bit. It's going to tone down those areas that look a little bit green or a little bit blue. And hopefully what we should end up with is black clothing that looks black, but with a nice shimmery highlight of slightly different tones. And just for a final bit of coloration, I'm going to put a small amount of Army Painter Purple Tone just on what in the artwork is the waistcoat for this miniature, but I don't think it looks like a waistcoat on the actual miniature itself. So I'm saying a sweater. All the vicars I know wear sweaters. I'm now going back to Eshin Grey, and I'm just going to do a highlight on the shoes. This is just to bring those shoes back up, pick out the little details and raised areas, but leaving our Nuln Oil in the recesses. It's time to move on to the flesh, and I'm going to use Cadian Flesh Tone for this. I've thinned the paint down quite a lot. I'm going to use 2 thin coats for this. So this is going to go over the face and obviously both hands. And we just need to be careful we don't get it over the jacket at all. And then I'm going to use Reikland Flesh Shade for the shading. I have used way too much Reikland Flesh Shade there. That's not a problem. What you can do if you ever get that situation is you can keep using your brush to pull and move that wash around. Alternatively, you can get a dry brush and you can just touch that against any areas where there is too much wash, and the capillary action will draw the wash away from the model. But obviously we want to make sure that we've got just enough wash to bring out the details on the hands and the face. And then I'm going back to Cadian Flesh Tone, and I'm thinning this down a lot again, and I'm going to apply it as a final highlight. So that's going to go on the nose, the eyebrows, the forehead, the raised areas of the mouth and the cheeks, the ears, the tops of the fingers and the thumbs, anywhere where the light would naturally catch. And you can apply 1 or 2 coats as you see fit. And then I'm switching to Pallid Witch Flesh, and I'm using Pallid Witch Flesh on 3 different parts of the miniature. First I'm going to use it on the collar, around the vicar's neck, and then I'm going to use it on the Bible in his hand, and then I will also use it to dot in the eyes. And the reason I use pallid witch flesh is because I think often white looks too bright and stark, and an off-white like pallid witch flesh I think is a more natural tone. But I've thinned this paint again and it will require 2 coats. And of course we need to be careful when dotting in the eyes, we need to use a fine brush and take our time. I'm then switching to Retributor Armour, and this is going to go on the cross that the good Reverend is holding up. And also on the front of the model there is a little bit of detailing which on the artwork on the character card is supposed to be the top of his waistcoat, but because there's so little detailing on this model's waistcoat, I don't think it looks like he has a waistcoat on at all, and it actually looks like this detailing looks more like a little necklace, perhaps a crucifix. So what I've decided to do is I've decided to mark that in with Retributor Gold as well. We can just imagine it's some little holy relic, a crucifix of some kind, to give him extra protection, because our good Reverend seems to have been confused between vampires and mummies. He has come to the tomb kitted out to fight vampires. Finally, I'm switching to a dry brush, and I'm going to dry brush the edges of the pages and the cover of the Bible, and that's just to make this look like one of those fancy Bibles with the pages that have the gilt edging. I'm then going to use some Seraphim Sepia. I'm going to put a small amount of this on the collar. The reason I'm putting it on the collar is because our Reverend has been trudging around in the desert, so he's going to have got hot and dirty and sweaty, so his white collar isn't going to be pure white anymore. It's going to be a little bit stained and dirty, and that's the effect I'm trying to get there. And I'm also going to use the same wash on the pages of the Bible. That's just to knock down that pallid witch flesh on the pages so they don't look so bright and white. Next I'm switching to Abaddon Black, and this is just to dot in the eyes. Brace the miniature, hold your breath, fine brush, one little dot and you're done. I'm then getting some Administratum Grey, and I'm going to thin this down quite a lot, and I'm going to let thin paint do all the work for me here. I'm just going to apply it over the black hair to make our Reverend look older and grey haired. And because I've thinned the paint so much, a lot of the black will show through, and it will kind of do its own highlighting for me. I'm then going to use Agrax Earthshade. I'm just going to put a little bit of this on the cross, just to knock down the brightness there. And then I'm also going to put it on the Bible. As with the collar that the Reverend is wearing, this Bible may once have been a brilliant white, but he has been out in the desert with it for quite some time. It's going to be a little bit dirty and dinged up. And that's the actual miniature finish, so finally I just need to do the base. And if you watch my painting guide for the Mummy, you will know how I'm going to do the bases for this game. First of all, I'm using Astro Granite textured paint. And then when that's completely dry, I'm going to thin down some Xandri dust, and I'm going to layer that over the top of the Astro Granite. And I don't want a solid coat of Xandri dust, I want it to be a little bit patchy, and because I'm thinning it so much, the Astro Granite will show through a little bit more in certain places, so we will get a slightly mottled finish. When that's dry, we're going to do a coating of Seraphim Sepia, just to make everything look a little bit more sandy, but also just to bring out the detail of the texture in the base. And when that is dry, we're going to do 2 dry brushes. First with Xandri Dust, and then a very light dry brush with Screaming Skull, just for a final highlight. And the final touch is to get some Steel Legion Drab and to apply that to the rim of the base. And with that done, our miniature is completely finished. It is ready to be varnished and ready to go into the mummy's tomb to battle the mummy in search of everlasting life. So that's it for this painting guide. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have liked the video, please consider pressing the like button. If you've really liked the video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so. And hopefully, I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.